I was able to go back oh, I'm sorry, live stream, but I did update add the recommendation form to that screening questionnaire.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and open the waiting room. It's not letting me admit all. I wonder why. Oh, I see. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. And we are here tonight. This session is designed to help you understand the purpose, expectations, structure, and the application process for the Aspiring Assistant Principals program. And again, this program is not just preparing you for a title, it's about preparing for the work of leadership, leading people, supporting instruction, strengthening culture, and improving systems so that students are educated and empowered to shape the future. As we go through the presentation tonight, if you can put your questions in the chat, and at the end, we'll address all questions that we did not hit throughout the presentation. So, welcome. I am Dr. Horton, the Director of Educator Quality, and I've been in education. This is my 24th year, and so I'm excited as we have been designing this program to support aspiring leaders. And ultimately, I enjoy developing people, and I understand that support for teachers and leaders helps me sustain my why every single day, and that's to increase life chances for kids.
Good afternoon. My name is Claiborne Knight. I'm a coordinator of educator quality, and I began my career as an elementary school teacher. And after spending 12 years as a classroom teacher, I spent the next 13 years as a building administrator, three as a assistant principal, and then 10 as a principal, and then moved on to additional roles as a principal supervisor, turnaround coordinator, and now work in the Office of Educator Quality. I'm excited to be here working with you as developing leaders is one of the most exciting things that I've done as a principal, and look forward to working with some of you. So, as we think about ABLE, the Academy for Building Leaders in Education, we want you to understand that ABLE exists to develop leaders who focus on what matters most inspire and lead change, and then cultivate purposeful communities to educate and empower Atlanta Public Schools students to shape the future. You'll hear us say that over and over again because that is why we exist, and we want to make sure that we really hone in on that. So ABLE is going to be the big umbrella that houses all of our leadership support or leadership development programs here in Atlanta Public Schools. So what you're here for this afternoon is to learn about our Aspiring Assistant Principal program, which will be our first program that will be launching. It's going to be Cohort 1 launching in 2026-27 school year. The following year, we will be launching Cohort 1 of the Aspiring Principals program, 2027-2028. But beginning in summer of 26, we will start our leadership support cycle. We'll be supporting not only new leaders, but also support existing and experienced leaders as we support them as they lead in Atlanta Public Schools. And so as we begin to work in creating the Aspiring Assistant Principals program and ABLE in general, we wanted to make sure that we were looking at the research for the best practices to determine what we needed to do as we developed our leadership framework with Atlanta Public Schools. So using a combination of looking at research done by the Wallace Foundation, which chose to focus on instruction, on people, and on the organization. And then we also looked at McRail Balanced Leadership Framework that focused on the pieces that you see there, which were establishing clear scope. I'm sorry, my glasses don't allow me to see there. Establishing clear focus, managing change, and then creating a purposeful community. And then also we looked at Georgia Leads Accelerate, which Georgia Leads is the evaluation system that the state of Georgia is moving towards. And some of our schools and Atlanta public schools are already using Georgia Leads as a part of a pilot, but we're going to be using all three of those combined, and we synthesized those and came up with ABLE, which is where we came up with our framework. And you'll see that the three elements that ABLE is going to focus on is going to be on focus on what matters the most, inspire and lead change, and then cultivating a purposeful community. ABLE's three elements, key elements, are research-based synthesis of what effective school leaders must do to improve teaching, to strengthen people, and to organize schools for better outcomes. And so when we move forward and we look at balanced leadership, that's where we are. And balanced leadership means knowing when to stabilize what is working, when to challenge what must change, and that balance is often the difference between effective and ineffective leadership, coming from balanced leadership for powerful learning. And so I want you to take a moment, and on this slide here, I want you to take a moment as you read and see what the theory of action is for the Academy for Building Leaders in Education. So I'll give you a minute to read that. And so the three key elements that come from our theory of action are going to be focus on what matters most, inspire and lead change, and then cultivate a purposeful community that's then going to allow Atlanta public school leaders to build the knowledge, skills, dispositions, and leadership behaviors that are necessary to create coherent systems and to lead meaningful change and strengthen our school communities. And that's going to lead us to our ultimate goal, which is we want to improve the quality of instruction that's taking place in Atlanta Public Schools, organizational effectiveness, collaboration, and student support systems that's going to ensure our APS students are educated and empowered to shape the future, which goes back to what our mission is. And so as we look a little bit closer at those three key elements, number one is focus on what matters most. That's connected to the Georgia Leads Accelerate standards of Domain 4, which is leading for learning, and it has standards curriculum and instruction and assessment, and then continuous improvement. Element number two, which is inspire and lead change, connects to Domain 1, which is strategic leadership and the standards of strategic planning and managing change. And then the third one, which is cultivate a purposeful community, is connected to Georgia Leads Domains 2 and Domain 3. That's operational leadership built around systems and operations, and then recruitment, retention, and recognition of people, and then leading for positive change, which is around building a positive culture and managing the learning environment.
And so as we look at the Aspiring Assistant Principals program, we want to prepare the next generation of school leaders. And again, as Claiborne stated, you will hear us say over and over again, our three key elements: focus on what matters most, inspire and lead change, and cultivate a purposeful community. These are the foundation of the program. And during the program, participants will be able to experience 4 different types of experiences. So number one being the professional learning. So these are monthly structured learning experiences designed to build leadership skills, knowledge, and dispositions. The second experience for the month will be communities of practice. These will also be monthly sessions, but they're more collaborative, and the aspiring leaders will work together to share best practices, and some of the learning that you will get during the professional development sessions, apply those during our community of practices. The third experience is the hands-on experience, and this is the Action Research Project. So throughout the program is a year-long program. Throughout the program, participants will have an action research project where they're looking at a problem in their school, in the district, and they're applying the learning from the professional learning, from the communities of practice to whatever problem they're trying to solve. And then lastly, personalized mentoring. So the participants will have one-on-one mentoring sessions from experienced leaders. They may be principals, assistant principals, and other district leaders to help foster reflection and growth as a leader. So again, the program will focus on our 3 key elements throughout the program. Throughout these 4 different experiences, there will be an action research project, and the supporting text for the entire program is Leadership on the Line. This is a great book to provide that adaptive leadership lens, and we'll talk about that a little later. So this is the gist, the overview of the entire program, and I'll go deeper into each section. And so when we look at those 3 key elements, the program will focus on assistant principals, developing assistant principals to lead people and practice. So under focus on what matters most, we'll focus on the question, how do I help teachers improve daily instructional practice? And we'll focus on team and program implementation. Under Inspire and Lead Change, we'll focus on leading change through initiatives and through practice, answering the question, how do I help my team adopt better practices? And lastly, cultivating that purposeful community, we'll focus on relational and team community, answering the question, how do I help my team work effectively towards a shared goal? And again, those learning experiences, there will be a professional learning each month, a community of practice each month, hands-on practice through the Action Research Applied Leadership Action Research Project, and personalized mentoring sessions with a mentor. The participant criteria. So we're looking for participants. A candidate must have completed 2 or more years in a leadership role currently in your building. You may be a specialist, a department chair, grade chair, or like position. You must have 3 or more years of teaching experience and have or be eligible to get the Tier 1 certification. Also, the application must be signed off by your current principal or your current supervisor, demonstrating the consent to participate in the program activities, because some of these activities will be half-day activities, so we want to ensure you have your principal or your supervisor's consent. The candidate must be willing to devote time outside of the normal work schedule. These days are included summer days as well as evenings. The candidate must be willing to participate in a fishbowl protocol during the communities of practice and engage in enhanced reflection. So we'll have sessions where, like I said before, you'll be applying the things that you're learning, and we want participants to be able to do it with their peers, get feedback, and deep reflection. Student and candidates must remain in good standing with the district throughout the program. And lastly, participation is not in the program, does not guarantee a position as an assistant principal. You may be graded a higher view, but again, we want to ensure that everyone understands that this does not guarantee you a position as an assistant principal. This slide outlines our timeline. So we're in May and we are kicking off with our information session. Tomorrow, you will have in your inbox the application if you would like to apply for the program, and the application process will take place from May and June. In July, we would like to announce the first cohort of under the ABLE umbrella, and in August, we'll have an orientation and welcome. In September, we'll kick off those sessions I talked about, the professional learning as well as the community of practice, and then it will go all the way till May. And that will be our leadership summit, where Participants will present their projects that they completed throughout the program, and that will be the end of that year-long program. This outlines a little deeper that timeline. So tentatively, we've outlined the time commitment. So over the course of the year, like I stated, we'll begin with an orientation in August. In September, you'll have each month, again, participants will have that professional learning as well as a community of practice. Some of those sessions will be half days. Some of those sessions will be after school. But beginning in September, we'll start with that first key element of focus on what matters most and leading the learning. Then when we jump to November and December, we'll focus on cultivating that purposeful community through the lens of a positive culture. Second semester, we'll start with inspiring and leading change, focused on strategic leadership. And then March and April, we'll focus on cultivating that purposeful community again, but with through the lens of operational leadership. And again, ending May with the Leadership Summit. And so tentatively, we have set about 7 days, which is a combination of half days and 2 whole days, 12 evening hours from 4 to 7, and a 1-week residency over the course of 5 days.
And so
Again,
now,
I'm sorry. Go
oh,
ahead.
so
Go ahead, Clayton.
thank you. And so now we revisit again the 3 key elements that the Aspiring Assistant Principal Program or the ABLE is based on. And now we're going to move to the next slide. I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about what each of those components looks like within it. So for example, during the months of September and October, our focus is going to be element number 1, which is focus on what matters to most. And we know that curriculum, instruction, and assessment are our basics. It's the why that we exist in Atlanta Public Schools. And just like our superintendent led us last year, going back to the basics, that's what's going to be happening as we focus on what matters the most. Because we're looking at implementing a system of curriculum, instruction, and assessment that's going to ensure that quality instruction is taking place in every classroom. So when you look down at the professional learning that will be taking place during this month, a leader is going to be learning how school systems connects in order to align their teams and their departments' work so that the school has larger priorities that everybody's focused on, and it's leading to everyone focusing on one goal and being on the same page. During the community of practice during that month, participants are going to be learning how to use a PLC and focus and align it with the 4 levers of systems framework, which you'll learn about more in the program. Then we move on. And during the month of November and December, our key element is going to be cultivating a purposeful community. And during this time, the leader is going to be focusing on how to use an intentional use of high leverage practices that can support a can-do atmosphere where each and every student and staff member thrives, with the key words being each during that. So professional learning during that time, participants will learn how to facilitate and how to lead adults in looking at student work and how to look at data and learn how to make data-driven decisions. For the community of practice, the participants will learn how to refine their facilitation skills and will leave with ready-to-use protocols that can be taken back to their grade level teams or to the departments that they can be using in their school. As we move on to January and February, the key element that we're focusing on is inspire and lead change. And we realize that leaders will then learn how to recognize not only when change needs to happen, but also they'll learn when things need to stay the same. And when they realize that change needs to happen, leaders are going to understand the impact of change and to know how people will respond and react differently to that change so that they can plan and they can lead accordingly. So when you look at your professional learning during that time, leaders are going to be learning how to build buy-in among their peers, how to introduce new instructional practices that might need to happen, and how to address any resistance productively, as everybody's not going to feel the same way about the change, but they're also going to be looking at how we can communicate the purpose of the change and support people as they adjust and modify through the change. And then looking at the community of practice, they're going to be gaining practical strategies for learning how to influence their peers. And also a part that we've heard from the past, from previous experiences, is that they're going to get some interview simulation experience, because we want to get you ready to get to the table, but to be successful and to go beyond the table and to secure the position. So moving on from January to February into the month of March and April, Leaders are going to be looking again at how they can use those high leverage practices, but moving on to the professional learning, they're going to be looking at how to establish team norms and how to establish accountability, how to navigate those interpersonal conflicts, working on some of those adaptive skills as they build inclusive team cultures and strengthen communication routines. One of the things that we're excited about with that is we're going to be learning how to have those crucial or those courageous conversations that as a leader you'll need to be able to have. So we move on from there. Let's take a look at exactly how each month might look as we look at it for a glance. So you can see this slide. I'll give you a quick 30 seconds to kind of glance over, and then I'm just going to highlight a couple of things from this year at a glance so you can see. So in each month, you'll notice what's going to be the professional learning that'll be taking place, and you can notice what type of community practice has been planned or structured during that time. So if we look particularly at the month of October, for example, during that time, professional learning, we're going to be bringing in some consultants from the Rutherford Learning Group, and we're going to be looking at tools that leaders can use to help support and to develop teachers. Our community of practice during that time is actually going to be a coaching lab that will be done at perhaps maybe one of your schools. And then also, I want you to notice there it says Assessment One Focus. So I highlight that because I want you to be aware that throughout the program, there are going to be three different points where there will be some type of assessment. So we want you to understand this is not just to come sit and we're going to talk to you during this program. It's going to be where you're going to be actively engaged. You're going to have work, homework, schoolwork that you're going to be doing, and we're going to be assessing and checking for understanding because we don't want you to go through the program and not be able to be successful. We want to check for understanding so that we can adjust and modify as we go through the program so that you're going to be ready to step into a position for leadership with Atlanta Public Schools upon completion of the program. And then if you look at May, there's going to be your big assessment, which is going to be your action research project. And that's when you're going to be presenting those projects and those presentations to the rest of this class, as well as some other district leaders, principals, and cluster superintendents or associate superintendents. So let's look at the next slide. And as we talk about leadership on the line, Dr. Horton mentioned that this is going to be the supporting text that we're going to be anchoring a lot of our professional learning and our development in. So here it just shows you a breakdown of the chapters that are in the book. And so no need to worry. You don't need to go out and buy anything. We will be providing the book for you as a participant, but there will be reading that you will be expected to do outside of class, as there will be discussions and some wonderful cold call opportunities that will be checks for understanding as we come back in class and go over what you've been reading. And so from there, we want to show you, I mentioned Georgia Leads, and I talked about Georgia Leads Accelerate early on as how we use that as one of the research pieces that when we were building the program. Georgia Leads has a 5-tier continuum of growth. And Georgia Leads is going to then serve here as our developmental guide for designing and assessing the learning experiences that you as new leaders is going to have. So more than likely, most people are going to come in and being at the approaching conventional level and will hopefully move and progress throughout across to the right and hopefully be innovative and synergistic. Hopefully by the end of the program, we got to have high hopes, but this is how you'll be developing as a leader and will continue to develop once you secure or land a leadership position. So we just want you to understand that we're using this as a means also that's going to help you and prepare you for having a leadership development and growth portfolio as you go throughout the program, and then you would have that available at the end of the program. And now Dr. Horton is going to talk a little bit more about the application process.
All right, so on the screen, you'll see a flyer, and we'll also shoot that out in an email. And on that flyer, you see a website and a QR code. This is the application. Again, I went over the criteria. Phase 1 is the application process or the start of the application, and the deadline to submit your application is May 22nd. I want to make sure now a part of that application is the consent that I spoke about from your supervisor or your principal. So ensure that you do not wait till May 21st to submit the application. You want to start, if you want to apply as soon as possible because your principal or supervisor will have to complete the consent form. Phase 2 will be hire view. So candidates will receive a hire view will be communicated the week of June 1st. Phase 3 is in-person interviews. So based on the hire views, we'll have in-person interviews the week of June 22nd through June 26th. And lastly, we would love to announce the cohort 1 the week of July 24th. All right, so if you believe you are ready to deepen your leadership practice, support teachers, lead teams, and contribute to the school-wide improvement, we encourage you to apply today. This program is designed for aspiring leaders who are ready to learn, reflect, practice, and grow. Again, we'd like to thank you for your interest. We're going to go through any questions that are in the chat.
There are no questions in the chat, so we can open it up to see if there are any questions possible. Okay, in the chat, we see a question that says, this program will not include any Tier 1 certification pathway. Okay, to answer that question, currently this program does not have a Tier 1 certification pathway connected to it. So it is, if an individual chooses to pursue Tier 1 certification on their own, they can do so, but currently there is not a Tier 1 certification pathway connected to this program.
I see our
Another
next.
question.
I'm
Oh, go
sorry.
ahead.
Will this program be available in the 27-28 school year? Yes. So that will be cohort 2. And this next year, we're starting with cohort 1.
Then there's a question that asks, will the team choose our action research topic? We want your action research topic to be something that's going to be beneficial to you and your local school where you are. So you will be able to choose that. But of course, we will be available as well as mentors to assist you and guide you in choosing an action research topic if you so need. But we'll talk more about that once in the program.
I see, did I hear a mention of a 1-week practicum? You did. We would like to have a 1-week residency where you are engrossed in whoever your mentor is in their school environment, applying those practices that you're learning throughout the professional learning as well as the community of practice. That's why it's very important to have your supervisor, your principal's consent to apply for the program.
And then I see, hello, did I hear you say that you have to be in a leadership program, or if you have a leadership position, or if you have ever held any type of leadership position, whether in APS or another district? So currently it is that you just have to have that experience in a leadership position. And so if you have that, part of your screening questionnaire will be where you will actually list any leadership positions that you've had, time, date, and location. So you would be able to use those as your leadership experience.
I see, are you able to participate if you are not currently in APS? No, unfortunately, this is only for APS employees.
Then I see I am new to APS, not currently in a leadership role, but was an AP in another district. Am I eligible to apply? You currently would meet that criteria if you have those minimum of years as an AP in another district. So you could apply. Yes.
All right. Okay. Did you say that applications will be emailed? Yes, we will email this flyer out tomorrow, and you can just use the QR code or go to the link to get to the application.
See, are there any opportunities for someone who has Tier 1 on their certification but does not? Okay, I think she answered that, but does not work with APS. Yes, you have to currently, as Dr. Horton mentioned, you have to currently be an employee working in APS. Someone asked, when does cohort 1 begin? And as we showed earlier, cohort 1, the orientation would take place in August, and the actual cohort sessions would begin in September. The application is available tomorrow. It will be what you see on the screen there now, but the application will be sent out. The link will be sent out on tomorrow.
All right.
Let's see. Okay. Um, did you say, yes, application will be mailed out, but it's what you see there on the screen. It is going to be that tiny URL, or it is going to be that QR code that you could scan.
I see. Does a grade level chair serve as a leadership position? That is a leadership position. How many candidates will you select? We are now looking for about 20 candidates for cohort one.
Are you by default disqualified if you do not have any leadership experience? Unfortunately, that is one of the criteria that you must have had some leadership experience or served in a leadership position. Yes, you do.
Can you clarify, is tier one certification or enrollment in a tier one program required? No, it is not required, but you should be eligible for that certification, but it is not required.
Okay. And how recent does the leadership position have to be? There are no stipulations. There were no part of the guidelines or criteria specifying how recent it has to be.
I see your experience in birth to five, so pre-K, yes, yes, that can be counted as teaching experience.
I do see a Miss Cooper. Are you able to put your question in the chat? I see your hand is raised. I see. If you are in a district level position, are you still eligible for this position? If you are in a district level position that is considered a leadership position or you have previously had leadership experience, you are still eligible to apply for this. Yes.
All right, I see. What is the difference between this program and the tier one program process? So this program, we are trying to increase your skills, knowledge base around leadership. You still have to go through the certification process to get tier one or tier two on your certification. So this program will not certify you.
And I think Ms. Bunyan, you had asked, I was an AP in North Carolina and was accepted into a tier one program at UGA, but currently you're a new EC teacher. I'm an early childhood teacher with APS. Am I eligible? Uh, yes, you're already in a tier one program and you've had previous leadership experience. So it does look like you would meet those criteria to be eligible to apply.
I see. Will the application include letters of recommendation? So the recommendation comes from your current supervisor or principal. So that will be the recommendation needed. And once you get onto the application, you'll be able to see where you are sending the link for your principal or supervisor to complete the recommendation. I see if you were in the previous Aspiring Leader program, do you advise that a participant go through the Aspiring Assistant Principals program? It's up to you. It depends on where you are in your development and your leadership journey. That is directly up to you. There is some alignment and there are some new experiences that we have added to the program.
And can the previous experience can come from other districts? Yes, it can. I apologize, Mr. Bunyan. I did not realize it was Mr. So I apologize. And exceptional education is your exceptional education teacher. All right. Thank you. Again, my apologies. Good evening. I attended Mercer University's EDS program in 2018. I completed the internship as well. If I only need to take the test to become certified, do you advise one to apply or to take the test? Well, if you are eligible for the tests, then you are eligible for tier one certification. You just don't have it yet. So it would be up to you to apply or to take the test first. It would be up to you if you wanted to get into the program first or to go ahead and get your certification done first. Your choice.
I like this question, and this is something we can look into. If you've completed the previous leadership program with APS, could you all consider a practicum for those individuals? That is a good thought, and I'll write that down. It's William.
And are there time requirements available on the application or available to us to reference for our principals? We will be sharing the presentation, the recording, but we can look into if you need that slide specifically to be. And I do believe, I cannot recall right now. I can check while we continue to answer questions and see if the time requirements are actually on the screening form for the principal. So I will check that.
And as Claiborne stated, we'll send, if you're registered, we'll send this presentation to you after this session.
Uh,
I see, does the leadership,
yes.
I'm
Oh, I'm
sorry.
sorry.
Go
Yes,
ahead.
on the form that your principal will recommend, it does indicate that there are going to be 2 half-day sessions per month that you will be involved in professional learning, community practice, and reflection. And it does indicate that there are outside of the regular workday hours that are included. So that much is actually on the form when your principal will receive that form that you will send with them. Let's see, that was the time requirements. Uh,
I see, does the leadership requirement within the school have to be instruction-based, or can it be leadership roles, positions that your school administrator has you serving in? Yes, any leadership position.
mhm.
Can we do the tier one process in this program? Yes, you can do it simultaneously. I'm not sure how much the work during the tier one program will entail, but as Claiborne stated, well, we gave the tentative timeline, and then there will be 4 complete assessments, 3, 1 for each of the key elements, and then your final action research project. All right, so I will send the presentation to everyone so you can have all the details at your fingertips. If you have any additional questions that we did not answer tonight, you can just reply to the email and send us your questions. And we'd like to thank you again for your interest in the Aspiring Assistant Principals Program. We are excited to develop leaders who focus on what matters most, inspire and lead change, and cultivate purposeful communities for the students of Atlanta Public School. Thank you.
One last thing. So I did see that one person did ask, can they call us because they are driving and they have some questions? So yes, take care of your driving, get where you need to be. We will be, our numbers are, our emails are there definitely. And then of course, like I say, our numbers should be connected to our email. So feel free to send us an email. If you can't reach us by phone, send us an email, send us your number, and then one of us will get back with you. Probably like I said, we know everybody's heading home now. But yes, if you email us, we will make sure that someone will get back to you within 24 hours to answer any questions that you have. All right. Thank you all. We appreciate your time being here. As Dr. Horton said, if you are driving, continue to drive safely. And if you aren't, when you get in your cars and start driving home, be safe. And we'll look forward to seeing you back here at Atlanta Public Schools on tomorrow morning. Thank you all.